Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing very well. If you are new here, my name is Sophia and I make bookish content mainly about literary fiction and mysteries, but also I read a little bit of everything. In today's video, I'm talking all about my bookish goals for 2025. Yes, I'm going to be mentioning how many books I want to read, if there are any specific books that I really want to get to in the year, all of that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This tag was originally created by Heather from Bookables. I will link her account. It has some great questions, and so I've really enjoyed kind of guiding my goals for next year based on the questions from her tag. The first question of the tag is, how many books do you want to read in 2025? And for the past 5 years, I've always said 50 books. I have never reached that goal. Although this year, I think it could happen. I'm right at about like 43, so I'd need to have a good December reading month, but I think it could happen. Usually I fall at like 45 to 47, but I think I'm going to keep it at 50 until I can like consistently meet that. I don't want to drop it more because 50 seems like a book a week. That seems like something I can do pretty easily. But usually I have some type of like reading slump midway through the year, which makes it difficult. So long story short, I'm going to keep it at 50 books to read in 2025. The next question is 5 books that you didn't get to last year that you would like to get to this coming year. I probably could mention a lot more than 5 books here, but I certainly have 5 that are jumping out at me that I really want to get to this coming year. First is Wellness by Nathan Hill. This is another chunky book. If you guys watch my Best Books of the Year video, I seem to really like long books apparently, but this is a novel that starts in the 90s and follows 2 characters throughout their life, and it's kind of a longitudinal epic of sorts. It looks like, it feels like it's about 600 pages, and what do you know? It is. Next up, we have Clear by Karis Davies. I tried to read this book 3 different times last year, and I actually never put it aside because I wasn't enjoying it. I put it aside because it didn't feel like the right time to read it. But I do think that this is a lot in it for me if I actually put the time aside and get into it. It's a short novel about a Scottish minister who's tasked with evicting this man. He is the only man that lives on an island. This was based on a historical event called the Scottish Clearances, but I think it has a lot to do with like human connection and humanity. Next are a couple of authors that I have read before and loved and wanted to pick up new releases, but didn't quite get to. The first being Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart. I know how to hold a book. This is a Scottish author who wrote another book called Shuggie Bain that I absolutely adored and gave 5 stars. This novel is in a similar vein and follows 2 boys who fall in love, and they live in a very poor neighborhood in Glasgow. So I think this is going to be another winner. It also has great reviews. Next up is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. She's known for doing like literary thrillers of sorts, or thrillers that have complex family dynamics. And this is a mystery novel where a father goes missing at the beginning, and then it kind of navigates and explores the family after that event. But it sounds really excellent. And finally, I really wanted to read The Demon of Unrest, which was, I'm forgetting the author's name. He writes many historical novels that are nonfiction and are fantastic. I first fell in love with him after reading The Devil in the White City, which is about a serial killer who was in Chicago during the time of the World's Fair, and is a absolutely incredible book if you haven't read it. But this book is about the beginning of the American Civil War. Tyler and I recently went to Charleston, South Carolina for a little trip, and we went to Fort Sumter. And I was just so interested by all of the different dynamics at the beginning of the American Civil War. And so I think that this would be a great book to get to this year. I'm going to add in one little extra book that I didn't get to, or not really a book that I didn't get to, but a kind of reading goal that I have for next year. And that goal is that I would love to read more classic crime literature, specifically Agatha Christie. I have these gorgeous editions of her Marple mysteries, and I've actually already read Murder at the Vicarage. So I'm planning to do a review of that one soon, but I'd love to start making my way through the Marple mysteries and uploading reviews for you guys so you can see what I think of all of them, and then maybe branching out to Poirot, a few other things that she wrote, and even some other classic crime writers. Next question is a genre that you want to read more of, and I would have to say literary fiction. So I do read quite a bit of literary fiction. I always say I read the most literary fiction and mystery thriller, but if I'm going to be honest, I tend to read more mystery thriller than anything else. And while I do love those books, I found that a lot of my favorite books of the year were more in that literary fiction genre. And so I think I want to put more effort into picking those books up and seeking them out this year with, of course, a good balance of a pacey mystery in between a more slow paced literary thriller. Not that all literary thrillers are slow paced, but it's nice to have a balance. So in general, I would say I want to continue reading a little bit of both, but definitely more literary fiction. Okay, next up is 3 goals that you have that are not related to reading. And the first I would say is just consistency in all aspects of life. My job is very challenging in that my schedule is all over the place. I will have a week at work, which is very hectic, where I'll work like 80 plus hours a week. I'm a physician and a hospitalist, and so I actually really like the schedule because the week you're on, you're fully invested in your patients and in your work, and then the week you're off, you're fully off and you can do whatever you want. However, it does lead to a lot of like whiplash, inconsistencies in my reading life and life in general. And I know that those weeks on are never going to be as laid back as a week where I'm fully not working. However, I do want a little bit more consistency, routines that I do and that I bring across every week of my life, and not just have this very changing routine. And so I really would love to focus on that. And maybe that will also bleed into my reading life as well. Kind of branching off that, I'd love to plan things more and be more intentional with my free time. I'm always happiest when I have like a schedule of things to do, even if some of those things are very introverted, like 2 hours that I'm going to read this book, and then I'm going to go for a walk and then have a coffee with friends. Like I love having everything laid out. And sometimes I get behind on scheduling and planning things, but I'd love to be more present in that and more like dedicated to making that happen most days. And the last is being more active without necessarily like working out per se. I would love, like most days, even if I'm not going to the gym and like breaking a sweat, to go for a walk around the block, like do something a little bit active that I enjoy. It doesn't have to be me going to the Orange Theory class that I go to and like die on the treadmill, even though I do enjoy that. But I want to make physical activity more of a part of my life, mainly because I think that it's really, really good for my mental health. And I see myself being a lot happier when I make an effort to do that. The next question is a book that you've had on your shelf forever that you would like to read next year. And that would be The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. This goes along with a lot of my family dramas that I've been reading, but it is a very long, sweeping family tale, and it's like an epic saga over many years. And I think given the books that I love this year, I would really enjoy this. And the last question is one word that you hope next year to be, and I'm going to say joyful. I think happiness and joy is the most important thing for me next year. So that is what I'm hoping for. So that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know what your book that you really want to read next year is, if you could prioritize one. And with that, I will see you all with another video very soon. Bye.